Imagine standing in a room filled with the scent of expensive mahogany and fresh ink. You're holding a pen that costs more than your first car. Across from you, 3 men in tailored suits are smiling. They aren't just offering you a deal, they're offering you the world. You've worked 15 years for this moment. Your hands are steady, your mind is clear, and the ink is wet. You lean down, you trace your name across the bottom of page 42, and you hand back the pen. In that exact second, you didn't just close a deal. You ended your life as you knew it. Most people think ruin happens slowly. They think it's a series of bad habits, a slow slide into debt, or a visible decay. But for David Miller, total annihilation took exactly 3 seconds. It was the time it took to move the nib of a fountain pen across a single line. He didn't lose his wealth because of a market crash or a bad product. He lost it because of a comma, a hidden clause, and a terrifying amount of misplaced trust. To understand how David lost everything, you have to understand what he had. David wasn't a gambler. He was a meticulous, detail-oriented architect of a mid-sized logistics empire. He started with 1 truck in 2008. By 2024, he owned a fleet of 200. He knew his drivers by name. He knew the cost of fuel down to the cent. He was the kind of man who checked his tire pressure twice before a long drive. He was Safe David. His company, Apex Logistics, was valued at $45 million. He had a wife, 2 daughters in private school, and a retirement plan that looked like a fortress. He was the American dream personified. But even the strongest fortress has a cellar door left unlocked. David's weakness wasn't greed, it was fatigue. He was tired of the 80-hour weeks. He wanted to enjoy the fruits of his labor. So when a private equity firm called Vanguard Holdings approached him with an exit strategy, he listened. The predator's approach. Vanguard Holdings didn't look like a threat. They looked like a savior. They spoke the language of growth, synergy, and legacy. They told David they wanted to take Apex to the national level. They offered him $30 million up front, plus a 20% stake in the new, larger entity. It sounded perfect. He would get the payout, keep a seat on the board, and watch his baby grow without having to manage the daily headaches. The negotiations lasted 6 months. There were hundreds of emails and dozens of meetings. David hired a local lawyer, a man he'd used for years for simple contracts and property disputes. This was his first mistake. He brought a knife to a nuclear silo. The lawyers across the table were from a top-tier firm in Manhattan. They didn't just write contracts, they wrote puzzles. They embedded traps inside definitions. They hid poisons inside standard industry language. There were moments where the air felt thin. During a late-night session, David noticed a paragraph titled Operational Indemnity. He asked his lawyer what it meant. The lawyer glanced at it and said, "It's just standard boilerplate, David. It means if a truck crashes before the deal closes, you're responsible for the insurance claim. Don't sweat the small stuff." But it wasn't small stuff. Hidden within that paragraph was a cross-collateralization clause. It stated that David wasn't just guaranteeing the deal with his company's assets, he was guaranteeing it with his personal estate, including his home, his savings, and his future earnings. If the transition failed to meet certain arbitrary performance metrics within the first 90 days. David felt a pang of unease, but the private equity lead, a man named Marcus, put a hand on his shoulder. "David, we're partners now. We want you to succeed. This is just for the auditors." Why do we ignore our gut? Why do we trade our intuition for a polite smile? David wanted to believe Marcus. He wanted the $30 million. He wanted the vacation in Tuscany. He silenced the voice in his head that said, "Read it again." The day of the ink. The closing happened on a Tuesday. The document was 400 pages long. It was a mountain of paper designed to overwhelm the human brain. By page 300, David was skimming. His eyes were blurring. He saw the numbers he liked, $30,000. He saw his name. He saw the finish line. The room erupted in handshakes. Champagne was poured. For 24 hours, David Miller was a multi-millionaire. He went home and told his wife they were set for life. They opened a bottle of wine. They talked about the future. They had no idea that at that very moment, Vanguard Holdings was already executing Phase 2. 30 days after the signature, the first blow landed. Vanguard Holdings sent an official notice stating that Apex Logistics had misrepresented its maintenance records. It was a lie, or at least a gross exaggeration of a minor clerical error, but according to the contract, this material breach triggered a clause that froze the $30 million payment in an escrow account. Instead, David got a call from a legal assistant. The tone was no longer friendly, it was cold. It was predatory. They informed David that because of the breach, they were taking full control of the company immediately. Furthermore, because of the operational indemnity clause David had signed, he was being sued for $10 million in damages to the brand. Within 3 months, the standard boilerplate began to swallow David's life. The private equity firm used their massive legal budget to bury David in motions. He couldn't afford his Manhattan-level defense. His local lawyer was outclassed and terrified. Because of the personal guarantee hidden on page 312, the bank moved to freeze David's personal accounts. He went to the ATM to buy groceries and saw a balance of 0. His credit cards were declined. The $30 million was gone. It had never truly left Vanguard's control. Then came the house. Because the home was listed as collateral in a subclause David hadn't even read, the firm initiated foreclosure. In less than a year, David went from an empire builder to a man sitting in a rented apartment, watching his furniture being sold at an auction. He lost his company, his savings, his home, and eventually the stress broke his marriage. What exactly went wrong? It wasn't one thing, it was a sequence of psychological failures. First, the fatigue factor. David was tired. Predators wait for you to get tired. They wait for the moment you just want it to be over. When you reach that point, you stop reading. You start trusting. Second, the professional illusion. Just because someone is wearing a $5,000 suit doesn't mean they are ethical. In the world of high finance, a contract isn't a handshake. It's a weapon. David treated the contract like a formality. Vanguard treated it like an ambush. Third, the wrong team. David used a family lawyer for a shark deal. You wouldn't ask a GP to perform open-heart surgery. David saved $10,000 on legal fees and lost $45 million as a result. The lesson for you: you might not be signing a $40 million deal today, but you sign things every day. You sign terms of service, you sign employment contracts, you sign leases, you sign simple agreements with friends. The world is full of people who spend their entire lives looking for ways to take what you've built. They don't use a mask and a gun. They use a pen and a standard agreement. If you take one thing from David's story, let it be this: never sign what you do not understand. If you don't understand it, you don't sign it. If the other party pressures you, if they say it's just a formality, or we need this by Friday, that is the exact moment you should walk away. A person who wants a fair deal will give you time to read. A person who wants to rob you will give you a deadline. Final takeaway: David Miller's name is no longer on a building. It's on a cautionary tale. He lost everything because he valued the deal more than the detail. He wanted the destination so badly that he didn't look at the map. Your signature is the most powerful tool you own. It can build a life, or it can destroy one. Guard it with your life. Because once that ink dries, the world doesn't care if you didn't see the clause. The world only cares that you signed. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden dangers of the professional world, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We dive deep into the stories that matter, helping you navigate the complexities of life and business. Don't let your hard work be erased by a single mistake. Would you like me to analyze another famous legal collapse, or perhaps a story of a massive comeback? Let me know in the comments below. Stay sharp, stay vigilant, and always read the fine print.